See Viola Davis lead her army of fierce, fearsome, feared female warriors into battle to defend the kingdom of Domahe from invading forces that threaten their way of life in the historical epic based on true events, The Woman King, directed by Gina Prince Bythewood, who did Love and Basketball, The Secret Life of Bees, and The Old Guard. If you are a longtime viewer of my channel, you may remember I was not that kind to The Old Guard, so when I saw that it was from the same director, I was a little bit worried. But then I remembered Viola Davis is in this, and I fucking love her. She is one of the best actresses of this or any generation. She's been fucking tremendous in pretty much anything she's been in. Everybody has stinkers, especially when they've had a fucking long career like her, but she is on fucking point here. Fucking, oh my god, if she doesn't get Oscar consideration, Golden Globe consideration at the very least for what she did here, it's a fucking crime. She was fucking phenomenal in this. I know I've used the word phenomenal to describe various performances, but I have to gush about Viola Davis here. She's just so fucking good. And to think, she's in her early 60s, and she doesn't look out of place at all. Obviously, there were stunt doubles used in this movie, and I'll get to the plot in a little bit, but I just have to gush a little bit more. She anchored this fucking movie. Now, there were other good performances in this. John Boyega, who got way too much hate for his roles in the Star Wars trilogy, the new Star Wars trilogy. But he's so fucking good. And he's been doing his best to not necessarily distance himself, but just expand his portfolio. And he's done a really good job. He's a tremendous fucking actor and a really nice guy. So I saw those two involved and I was like, okay, I'm fucking in. The trailer looked fucking incredible. And also the writers, Dana Stevens, who did City of Angels, which wasn't so good, Safe Haven, which was fine, and also Maria Bello. Yes, her first writing credit, but if that name sounds familiar but you can't quite place, remember The Mummy 3? You know, the ill-advised mummy that they had to replace Rachel Weisz because she has scheduling conflicts? The woman that played Evie, her. She was also the bar owner in Coyote Ugly. And she's also done various other things. She had a recurring role on NCIS. Maria Bello. I would, and you would too, but good on her for getting a writing credit. So, all women, all the time, writing this thing, directing this thing, and that's a good thing. And I want to say right now, the cinematography in this was fucking phenomenal. Absolutely fucking incredible. Great shot. Whoever coordinated these fucking battles, whoever set this shit up, they deserve a fucking raise and then some. Those fucking fights were great. That was the main goddamn selling point. And also Viola Davis, as well as John Boyega. But there's another character in this. And Viola Davis plays Naniska. Hey. Man, if anybody understands that reference, it's a poor interpretation of the Addams Family reference. Babushka. Anyway, moving on from that. There's character Nawi. I'm going to screw up this name. I apologize. Thuso Mabedu. I'm sorry. Thuso Mabedu. She was great in this. She has been in some TV shows, according to her IMDb. This is the breakout fucking role for her. And she played this role perfectly. Obviously, spoilers will come up in a little bit, but I just really want to praise the acting right off the bat. There were just some really good performances here. Now, yes, once you get past a few of the key players, a lot of the background players, they don't necessarily blend together. Some people get screen time and then others are just there simply to be bodies that fight or bodies that get killed. Because it's set in, I believe, it's set during a time where basically invading forces from, well, Europe are trying to take over Africa. And this is a kingdom that thrives, but it also has a bit of a seedy underbelly on its own. John Boyega is a new king, and he is having to kind of, cope with trying to do new things to help his village, the all-female warriors, where it's spelled Agoye. 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 There's a few ways that it was pronounced in the movie, so I'm just going to spell it out right there and just say this group, because I don't want to dishonor the, the legacy. And since it's based on true events, I don't know how accurate this actually is to the actual events. Probably take a ton of time to read up on the history, but I will say, as far as a spectacle, this was fucking great. From the word go, there was a great fight scene in the beginning, and there was a nice, rich story here. It's hard to believe this was from the same person that directed The Old Guard, which had a good idea, had Charlize Theron in it, and a few other people, and unfortunately that was it. It didn't really have much. Maybe that wasn't the director's fault. Maybe that was Netflix wanting to make the movie absolutely fucking shit. Back to The Woman King. If it was not for these two actors, John Boyega and Viola Davis, this movie would have fell apart. No disrespect to anybody else, but you need anchors like that. And then the other cast members did really well. The character in Nawi was really good. Igoji, Lashana Lynch, she was good. She was really goddamn good. Maybe this is okay. The whole point is that, some of these names, I almost wish I would have gotten subtitles, because while it's all in English, some of the accents were a little bit hard for me to understand. And I was in one of the surround sound theaters, so I was like, okay. But that being said, acting was just fucking top notch. Really, really, really rich performances. A story that is pretty typical and may play around with some history, but also, I think, honors the legacy of this all-female warrior group in the best way possible. We get the origin story, we get how the new recruits are built up, we get why the new recruits are brought over, how all this stuff's happening, how there's slave trade and a whole bunch of stuff going on. And sometimes the best people have to do bad things to ensure the survival of their village. There's a lot of really good stuff with this. And also, a bit of a twist that people probably can see coming, but they layer it enough to where maybe you might actually be shocked by this reveal about the connection between two particular characters. Once again, the fights are fucking phenomenal. Great goddamn fight sequence, great battles. It is PG-13, but there's a good amount of slashing and blood for PG-13. They got away with quite a bit. Had this been rated R, we probably would have gotten a whole bunch of shit. We do get a few violent moments, which did push the PG-13 banner, and perhaps we'll get an unrated cut at some point. But this was really good. Maria Bello, if she had a big hand in putting the story together, I hope she gets a chance to write more movies. And Dana Stevens did a good job. And Gina's direction, she did very well as well. There was a lot of really good stuff about it. I'm not going to say it's exactly perfect. There are a few quibbles. It stumbles a little bit. It's a little bit long in the tooth. A little bit. A couple of the sequences, or a couple of the scenes kind of tested my patience. There were a few moments where I thought, okay, we maybe didn't need to have this. It ran a little bit longer than an hour or 135 minutes when it probably could have been cut by 15 minutes. But that being said, I'm not going to knock the grade down just because this movie felt a little bit long. But that may be the only issue I think that people have. I found this to be a very, very fun time with, again, Viola Davis deserving every bit of Oscar consideration. And even Thuso Mbodu, she deserves consideration as well. Young up-and-coming actress that if she does not get more offers based on what she did here and the growth she has as a character and the stuff that she was able to do and demonstrating the range of emotions, that's a crime. Get her some more goddamn roles. And there were other great actresses in this as well, and other great characters. And the fact that it focused on an all-female group and did it well and gave reasons for why they were like this, and gave a layering of how the village is set up, and that, sometimes you have to fight for what you believe in. You have to go against your instincts and go with your gut. Sometimes, sometimes maybe just going with what's best for the group isn't always going to work out. Maybe you need to forge your own path to ensure stuff is for the greater good. Shut it! No, I'm sorry. I had to go back to Hot Fuzz right there, which I need to rewatch at some point. This is great, though. And yes, there is the inclusion of a little bit of romance. It's not bad. I mean, I'm sure that was probably part of the history, and maybe that was something that, I mean, it sort of played in later, but I felt like that was a little bit But that being said, it was a really, really, really good story for the most part. Few issues, but it is what it is. No movie can be absolutely fucking perfect unless you're everything everywhere all at once. But this is about as great as you can get as a spectacle, from the fights to the performances to the great cinematography. And my hat's off. I don't even wear a hat, but my hat's off to all the crew and all the people working goddamn hard. Get so many of these people more meaty roles. Some more of the supporting people. Some great stuff. Now I'm going to get into spoilers. It is out in theaters. If you can get a chance to watch it in RPX, IMAX, whatever, if you pay the extra, it is worth it. There are some really, really good things here, and a lot you can sink your teeth into. The story may be familiar, but it's still a whole lot of fun. So anyway, we're going to get into spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Spoiler time! Spoilers. Okay, so that whole twist. There's a character in Nawi. She's taken, after this village is invaded by the all-woman group. and they suffer some losses, but they destroy this Mahi village, and they capture people that were, basically used as slaves, mostly women, but some guys. And they trained a lot of the women to become, warriors, to replenish their numbers, and also to give the women a chance to fight. So now it turns out has a little bit, she's a little bit headstrong. Her dad tried to sell her off to a guy, and that didn't work. So she got given to the village, of Domahe, and she has to try and fit in. And every time she tries to do something where she feels she's doing it for the betterment in the show, she can do things her own way, that she sees things differently. Naniska shuts her down. She also has injuries, and she also has a backstory as well. She's older. She's tired. Why is she so tired? And also, once this other invading force comes in, this other village, she seems a little bit fearful of a particular guy, a very, very large, very large black man that is very, very scary, has scars on his face. And why is she fearful of him? I wonder why she's fearful of him. She's also having flashbacks of something in particular that happened. So it turned out that the reason she's so headstrong for Nawi Seifi and everybody else's, is she too was once captured and assaulted in Ard. And it turns out this guy was actually the main culprit. And she's wanting revenge on him, but also she's fearful because confronting your past, your abuser, can be tough, regardless if you're a man, woman, animal, vegetable, mineral, from this planet or another planet, doesn't matter. It's tough when somebody takes that from you and takes innocence from you and just violates you. It is just based on what I've heard, is impossible to get over that. Nobody really gets over that. And it's bullshit that anybody has to fucking go through it. And if you fucking do that to anybody, you're a scumbag. Off my soapbox. So basically, they lead occasional battles and try to fight back this invading force. John Boyega's King character, he is chummy with a couple of Portuguese guys, and it turns out that there's a little bit of camaraderie. One of those Portuguese guys actually was also taken and held as a slave, but freed eventually to do what he wants any old time. And then there's slave trade and there's other stuff, and these guys are seen as invaders, but John Boyega is doing what he can to keep the peace. He's also got a shit ton of wives. A ton of wives. My God, he's got an amazing amount of wives. And he also has affection for Viola Davis because she helped him rise to king and has helped defend his village because she's just that good and that goddamn dedicated. And the training scenes, the amount of shit that these women went through, the stunts, the stunt work, the fight work, the choreography, all on goddamn point. Great stuff. Everybody is busy doing stuff without taking away from what's in the foreground. Even the background, they keep busy, but everything is focused, laser focused on this, and then they cut over, they do this, but they don't cut it to the point where you're losing track of what the fuck's going on. The only quibbles, again, I have is that there are some scenes that are long in the tooth. But about Naniska having issues and, wanting to confront her abuser. She tells one of her most trusted, when she finds out a little bit more about Nawi, she said, now wait a second. Nawi is an orphan. That wasn't her dad. It turns out that Naniska was pregnant. And if you end up pregnant, even if it's by that, and while you're captured, because you can't bear children, you're not supposed to bear children, you're supposed to be dedicated to just fighting, you're kicked out of the group. She kept it in secret, and she had her most trusted friend, one of her high-ranking officials, basically take the baby away, to an orphanage. But first, and she tells us in a backstory while Nawi's there, she cut a scar because there's a scar back on here on the shoulder. She cut that and put a little shark tooth in there. Turns out Nawi's her daughter. And that's tough for both of them to grasp. That explains why she was inadvertently so harsh on Nawi and why other stuff's going on. And then there's capturing going on. Nawi has a bit of a romance with one of the guys that actually turns out to not be that bad of a guy from the other side. And then there's a rescue mission. There's some other cool fights. Naniska confronts her accuser, kills it, or abuser rather, and kills him. And her and Nawi basically form this mother and daughter bond. and the Woman King is born. Naniska becomes the Woman King according to the king, even though the king said, you're supposed to be a trusted aide, you were supposed to be here, and you went against my orders, but goddamn, you saved us, and you know what, you fought, you sent them all back, you burned all their shit down, killed a whole bunch of them. Good. You're the Woman King. And there you go. That's the end of that right there. Even though I have issues, and I talked about being a little bit long in the tooth, for the spectacle, for the fight choreography, for the performances by Viola Davis, John Boyega, and the character of Nawi, and for others. There were others that were really good as well. Some good emotional depth, very good stuff. I'm going to give it an A+. Is it one of the best movies of the year? It's up there. It is probably going to just miss out in the top 15 because, again, of the aforementioned issues. But as far as a spectacle and as far as the technical achievements and a lot of the positives that are way up here and the negatives are way, way down there, it gets an A+. Agree, disagree what I said? Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ricklin. I'll see you soon.